The most dangerous toys ever made. There's literally thousands of toys that have been designed with the hopes of making the companies millions of dollars that maybe shouldn't have ever made it out of the design books because, like, especially in eras where health and safety wasn't anywhere near as like advanced as it is today. We didn't know about certain materials like asbestos. Like I think there were toys with asbestos in them, like just things that would no chance would they get released today. And I've always wondered, like, what are the most dangerous ones? Like, what happened to put these toys on this list?
The toy market is constantly changing, and over the years, kids have enjoyed many different toys. Although many have been popular, they may not have been the safest. Quite a few of them have caused serious injuries and even death.
Oh my God.
Today we will discuss some of the most dangerous toys of all time.
Flubber, I remember that.
In the late 1800s, a toy was released by the Stevens Company, which was the model dockyard locomotive. This was powered by using an actual steam engine that required either kerosene or alcohol.
What? You kidding me? So kids had to put in like kerosene to make the toy work.
The child would then light the heat to make the steam so the engine would go. This metal locomotive didn't have tracks, and it would often leak flammable fluid as it went across the house.
Oh my God.
It was basically a fire or explosion just waiting to happen.
Crazy.
The A.C. Gilbert Company was an American toy company that was started by Alfred Carlton Gilbert in 1909. At one time, it became the largest toy company in the world. They made tons of toys, including telescopes and microscopes. Mr. Gilbert believed in toys that would help shape the future by teaching them skills, and especially in science. Some of the toys that they released would never make it in today's market. Gilbert.
Man, I still can't get over the toy with the kerosene. Like, imagine a young kid like going up to their mum and dad. Mummy, Daddy, can I get 2 pints of kerosene to make my toy? Could you imagine that?
Gilbert caster kits were sold from 1931 to 1942. A child could cast their own lead alloy soldiers, football players, marching bands, circus animals, and various other things with over 3 dozen molds. After these were cast, the children would paint them. We now understand the dangers of lead, so this is certainly not a kid's toy now.
Because I was thinking like figurines. There's no controversy there. Like, people paint Warhammer figurines, but I suppose it's the lead, isn't it? Because you can get like lead poisoning, can't you?
One of the earlier toys that the Gilbert Company made was the glass blowing kits, complete with brass torches. This is certainly an art form that is still being done today, but it is not a kid's toy that you will see in the store. The Gilbert Company also produced chemistry sets. In addition to the glass and burners, kids would also play with things that were highly explosive or corrosive, such as potassium nitrate or sulfuric acid. Some of the concoctions a child could make had the possibility of wreaking havoc on respiratory systems.
Oh my God.
Sodium cyanide could also be found in some of these earlier kits. By the 1960s, the chemistry sets changed and they became non-toxic and non-explosive.
Did he say cyanide? Oh my God, that's literally like a poison. That's crazy that they even like sold that. Surely they must have knew about the dangers of cyanide in the 60s.
One of the most interesting toys that the Gilbert Company ever came out with was the U-238 Atomic Energy Laboratory.
No way.
This was only out a couple years, and after I explain it, you'll understand why.
Are you kidding me? They put uranium like in a toy? That's like nuclear material.
The kit came with alpha particles, beta particles, gamma particles, as well as 4 uranium ore samples.
Are you kidding?
It also had a cloud chamber, which allowed the child to watch the alpha particles travel more than 10,000 miles per second. One of the activities the kit suggested is playing hide and seek with the gamma ray source. The kid could then use the Geiger counter and locate the radioactive sample. Wonder how many kids lost the sample or placed it in their mouth.
Oh my God.
This kit originally sold for $49.50, which is more like $500 in today's money. The A.C. Gilbert Company went out of business in 1967 because the founder, Alfred Carlton Gilbert, died in 1961.
Oh no. I wonder if he died of like, overexposure to uranium because, you can get like radiation poisoning and stuff like that.
Mattel introduced the belt-buckle Derringer toy gun in 1959. Most would assume these were harmless, but they would be wrong. If a kid extended his stomach or caused a little friction, the gun would then fire a toy bullet and set off a cap. There were instances where this cap caused serious burns to the child and the toy was removed from the market. In the 1920s, Zulu Manufacturing in Battle Creek, Michigan came out with the Zulu blowing game. The box stated the game was harmless, so what could possibly go wrong?
Jeez, like some of these companies, honestly, the people that made the decisions should be prosecuted. So you don't think kids are too young to have blow darts? It's insane.
The game came with a 24-inch cardboard blowgun and sharp darts that were meant to hit a target, but they could really pierce the double cardboard shipping carton. There's no doubt that these could also pierce the skin or even worse, put out an eye. The really confusing part was the instructions, at least for kids. The child user was supposed to inhale and then put his lips onto the blowgun and give a little puff. Kids were putting their lips on the blowgun first and then inhaling, which was causing severe choking hazards.
Oh my gosh.
Fortunately, this toy can no longer be found in the stores, so kids can no longer shoot darts at their siblings or anyone else for that matter. Pogo sticks and their history go back to 1891 when they were patented. Initially, they were basically a stick with no handles until decades later when they decided to add the handlebars, which would add better stability. The majority of the time, people got injured just because it was difficult to maintain balance on them, but occasionally the springs inside would break and cause multiple injuries when they fell. If all of that doesn't sound dangerous enough, then how about this? In the 1960s, a product called Hop Rod was released. It was marketed as being so safe that even mom and pop could do it. Heck, even grandpa could do it. It was basically a pogo stick with a gas engine added to it. The bouncing action would then fire the spark plug, and each bounce would take you higher and higher.
Oh my gosh. Because anybody can see the dangers of this one. Imagine you go 10 feet in the air. That landing is going to hurt.
The patent on this product expired in 1977, so it can no longer be found in the stores. However, there are a lot of dedicated individuals that find these and restore them and get them running again. The 1950s saw another toy gun that had issues. The Austin Magic Pistol used magic crystals, better known as calcium carbide, which was in fact hazardous. When the crystals came in contact with water, they would send the plastic ball firing 70 feet or more. They really just created a firearm with gas-powered combustion. There were even cases of the gun itself exploding. Because of its dangerous nature, the gun ended up being classified as an actual firearm in several states, and this made it fall under more restrictive distribution.
I think some of these toys, or maybe in the 60s and 70s, there were no safety regulations. So you could think of an idea for a toy, get it made, and then it's for sale. There didn't need to be any, safety tests and things like that, because a lot of these toys, it's just anybody can see the risks involved.
Lawn darts were also called jarts, and they were introduced in the 1960s. These were 12-inch long weighted darts with a spike on one end that people would throw outside on the lawn. The object of the game was to throw the darts into the air and watch them land inside a hoop for the target. The problem came when people were getting hit with these darts and they were getting seriously injured. A court case in 1970 tried to ban these, but they returned to the market where they were once again sold. Between 1978 and 1988, they injured around 7,000 people. In 1987, a 7-year-old girl was killed by one of the darts when it penetrated her skull. The United States Consumer Product Safety Commission issued a notice ordering the lawn darts to be tossed away or destroyed immediately. Clackers, which were also called click-clacks or knockers, are another toy that makes this list.
Some of these companies really should have been sued hard, really, because this is just this is criminal negligence.
They consisted of 2 large acrylic balls hung on either end of a heavy string. When the user pulled the string up, the 2 balls would swing apart and back together again, creating a loud cracking noise that gave the toy its name. If these were swung too hard or too many times, the acrylic balls would shatter, sending plastic shards flying like shrapnel. These were around for a while, but they eventually got banned in 1985. The swing wing was a toy that was similar to the hula hoop, except it was worn on the head and twirled by moving the neck and/or body. It was developed by the Transogram Games and introduced in 1965. The constant motion was said to give people whiplash and brain hemorrhages.
What?
Some adults that played with this toy complain about suffering from chronic neck pain to this day.
Oh my gosh.
The Thing Maker, or Creepy Crawlers, was a toy made by Mattel beginning in 1964. This was a super popular toy, but it presented several safety concerns with children. Kids were instructed to take the plastic goop and add it onto an electric-powered mold that was heated up to 300 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh my God, this is easy like burns, you know?
The possibility of burning wasn't the only problem. Many people who had this toy remember the smell it had. The fumes that the burning plastic would release were certainly not ideal for little ones. Another interesting toy that came out in the 1960s was the Power Mite Working Power Tools, released by Ideal in 1969. These were marketed as the toy just like Dad's, only smaller and safer for little hands. These die-cast metal and plastic tools were plugged into a battery-operated terminal and were powerful enough to cut through styrofoam or balsa wood. Were these toys dangerous? Let us know in the comments below.
Or where do you guys stand? Do you think I'm being a bit too like, oh, these shouldn't have been sold? Or do you agree with me here that like some of these products, like anybody with some common sense can see that they would be a massive risk for kids? Massive. Like, or if you were a parent when these toys were available, did you buy them for your kids? Were there any issues? You know, let me know.
When the Battlestar Galactica missile launcher first went into stores in 1978, it had a warning label. Do not put or fire red missiles into mouth or towards face. If kids heeded this warning, then it wouldn't have been so bad. In 1979, the toy was recalled after choking, eye gouging, and even a death occurred from this toy. When Mattel recalled the missile launcher, they offered a Hot Wheels car in exchange. Barbie has become one of the most popular toys of all time. In 1991, Mattel released the Rollerblade Barbie. It sounds harmless, but her skates featured a cigarette lighter-like device that would shoot out sparks when they rolled on a flat surface. The issue came when little girls would put a dress on her and it would light it up on fire.
Oh my gosh.
An even bigger issue came along when kids rolled their skates through or near flammable liquids.
Well, you could start a house fire. How long has Barbie been sold for? It's been around since what, the 70s, 60s? Earlier than that?
Cabbage Patch Kids are another doll that has been super popular. In the 1980s, parents went into literal fistfights over these dolls on Black Friday. That alone could land these dolls on the list, but that's not why we have them listed. In 1996, they released the Cabbage Patch Snack Time Kids, and this doll could literally eat you. It had one-directional rotating motors in its stomach and tongue to mimic eating.
So if you put your finger in there...
It was activated when kids put plastic food into its mouth. The problem was the motors had no way of knowing the difference between plastic food and anything else. So these dolls would eat little fingers and hair and continue to do so despite the screaming of terrified children. After some highly publicized cases, Mattel recalled the dolls and offered a $40 refund to anyone returning the toy.
Gosh, Mattel has had to issue a lot of refunds so far.
Sky Dancers appeared in 1994 and they resembled harmless fairies fluttering through the air like butterflies. However, their foam wings when spun at high velocity to obtain flight could be dangerous. Once the cord was tugged, the Sky Dancers flew into the air at random angles where they scratched and gouged about 100 children before they recalled them 6 years later. CSI became one of the most popular shows on television, and with that popularity, they decided to get in on the toy market in 2007. Sounds harmless, right? The issue came in the dusting kit for fingerprints. The powder was found to contain tremolite asbestos, which is one of the most fatal forms of asbestos.
So not just asbestos, but like super asbestos. Crazy. Crazy they put that in a toy.
Aqua Dots was another dangerous toy of 2007. These colorful dots could be made into cool art designs, and then they were spritzed with water, which would make them fuse together. The problem with this toy was in the coating. It was found to contain GHB, which is a date-rape drug when ingested. 3 children went into comas after swallowing the toxic pieces. The Consumer Product Safety Commission recalled some 4.2 million units.
I mean, that went in a direction that I didn't think it would. They actually put that in a toy. That is insane, isn't it? Like, that is just crazy.
The final one that we will discuss today is very strange, and it's not exactly a toy. These were baby cages or playpens that allowed kids to get fresh air in sky-rise buildings.
Huh?
The cages would hang out the windows, suspended high in the air. The idea came from the early 19th.
There's no way, if I had a baby, like, come on. If anything goes wrong with the hinge, how this is attached.
1800s with the idea of combating tuberculosis with fresh air.
Would you put your baby in one of those?
In 1921, the patent was filed, and they became extremely popular in London during the 1930s. Ultimately, the sales declined in the 1950s due to safety concerns. Boy, that was a hard one to figure out, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Toys are an important part of growth and development for children. Many changes have taken place within the toy market over the years. Most all of the toys today have recommended ages and/or warning labels on them. However, some still seem to slip through inspections and they get recalled later on. I hope you enjoyed this little look.
Unbelievable. Like, great video. I mean, learned so much. These companies, I think they must have known, some of them. They must have known what they were selling was really dangerous, but the pursuit of profits just was their priority. Like, that's all they cared about, the money. You know, to put cyanide in a toy is nuts. I'm sure they knew that cyanide was dangerous. They must have known. You know, to put asbestos, the most dangerous type of asbestos, in a toy, to put roofies in a toy, crazy. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.